The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is complete, and yes, we got another episode of the Max Verstappen podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Racing Direct. We're going to dive into everything that unfolded at the Jeddah corner circuit, so make sure you hit subscribe, hit that like button. Let's get right into it. So yeah, it was another flawless race from Red Bull and Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez as well, completing another perfect 1-2. Max Verstappen, of course, never set a foot wrong, just breezed to another victory. Sergio Perez made light work of Charles Leclerc. He had a fantastic race as well. And yes, Red Bull keeps on trucking despite all of the craziness that's unfolding off the track within the team. The drivers keep on trucking, they keep pushing forward and getting the results that the team needs. Now, this was far from a highlight reel race, but it was a slight improvement over the Bahrain Grand Prix. We did get some battles throughout the field. Unfortunately, a lot of those were outside of the points. However, it was a little bit more entertaining than the opening race of the season. There was a fantastic battle between Lewis Hamilton and Oscar Piastri that went on for a very long time. The youth against the experience. They kept going back and forth. Piastri was fighting and fighting to get past Hamilton. Hamilton kept holding him off, though. It was a very good fight, and nice to see the McLaren and the Mercedes duking it out with each other on track. And then, of course, behind them, fighting for about 12th and 13th, there was that whole gaggle of cars between Williams, the Visa Cash App RBs, as well as the lone Alpine that made it through the first lap, Esteban Ocon. There were some interesting strategy battles this race too. Of course, that first safety car that was caused by Lance Stroll going straight off into the barriers. Of course, most drivers pitted for those hard tires, so they did not have to make another stop at the end of the race. However, the names of Norris and Hamilton stood out on the timesheets because they decided to stay out and try to run the mediums as long as they could to finish the race on a fresh set of soft tires. And of course, for those two, it didn't really work out. Unfortunately, Norris, starting in P6, finished P8, just didn't really have enough time to get those soft tires to work, and Jeddah is not the easiest track to pass on, so I really don't understand why these teams were going for that strategy. It's obvious why not many of them decided to do that and not pit under the safety car, because it just didn't work. And then we had Hamilton just couldn't really seem to catch up to the likes of Norris and Bearman at the end on his soft tires. That strategy did not pay off for them, but it did allow Oscar Piastri to move up to P4 and Fernando Alonso to hang on to his P5. But speaking of Ollie Bearman, what a job this guy did in his first ever Formula 1 race. Of course, it was an absolutely insane weekend for him. He got the pole position in Formula 2. He was spending most of his time in the Formula 2 paddock before he got the call that Carlos Sainz had unfortunately suffered from appendicitis and would not be able to race, and he would have to shift over to the Formula 1 paddock and suit up for Ferrari. Of course, the youngest ever driver to race for Ferrari in a Grand Prix, and he did a fantastic job with his very brief job interview. This, for me, was the headline of the Grand Prix because right from the start, he was not afraid to go wheel to wheel. He was sending it up the inside. He was trying to work his way up the order, get into the points. It was really good to see that. He was not nervous at all. He just wanted to go for it and make a good impression on the Scuderia, and boy, did he ever do that. And he was one of the many drivers who decided to pit during the safety car, go onto those hard tires, and run them for the rest of the race. And of course, he had two drivers behind him in Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton. They were on fresh, soft tires. You would have assumed that they would be able to just gobble him up with their experience and obviously their fresh rubber, but they just couldn't do it. Ollie Bearman did a fantastic job. He had great pace, and he managed to hold them off right until the end for a P7 finish, 6 points towards the World Championship, which is pretty damn good considering this guy had one practice session to figure out the track and the car. Absolutely incredible from this 18-year-old. And the other funny thing is, if you look at the standings right now, we actually have 3 Ferrari drivers in the top 10, which is so bizarre. We're not going to see that again for a very long time. Pretty damn cool. But yes, that is the standout for me from this race, and that's why he was also voted driver of the day unanimously. This was an amazing story for Ollie Bearman, and honestly, this could have landed him a potential seat in Formula 1 2025. There are many drivers that have contracts, namely at Haas as well, where I don't believe Hülkenberg or Magnussen are contract for 2025. Who knows what could happen there? Bearman might honestly slide into that team. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Speaking of Haas, though, my goodness, Kevin Magnussen was racking up penalties like his name was Esteban Ocon. Of course, he steered right into Alex Albon, put him into the wall, didn't leave leave him any space on the outside, and that was obviously given a penalty for causing a collision. After that, he sent it up the inside Yuki Tsunoda and overshot the corner, passed off track, and gained an advantage off the circuit. That was another penalty. Just wasn't going well for Magnussen. However, he did realize that he had no chance of scoring points anymore, and he did a fantastic job of holding off that super long DRS train behind him to get Nico Hülkenberg to finish in the points. It was a great bit of teamwork from Haas. They managed to score their first points in the World Championship before the likes of Alpine and Sauber, Williams, and VCarb. So great job to Haas, honestly. Of course, many people like to joke on them that they are the 10th fastest team, but in this case, they did a really good job. Well-deserved points, and honestly, that car is looking a lot better than many people predicted. So look out for Haas to score some sneaky points here and there. Yeah, that whole fight behind Magnussen too, yes, it was pretty entertaining, even though it was outside of the points, but just raised that concern again with the DRS train, which is a real pain. We want to see close racing, we want to see close battling. We don't want to see these guys get within 1 second of each other and they can't do anything. Honestly, but I did have this crazy idea of potentially swapping the DRS rule around, so rather than using it when you're within a second of the driver in front of you, you can only use it when you're not within a second of the driver in front of you. It would allow guys to catch up, create closer battles, and then we don't have these stupid DRS trains that we see so often. You just have to rely on the slipstream and getting the job done yourself. I think it could be an interesting idea that the FI could look at. Maybe I'll get roasted for this. Maybe it's a bad idea. I'm not really sure. Just trying to throw things out there to make things more exciting. Because as it stands right now, a DRS overtake usually consists of one other car flying past the other like it's a LMP passing a GT in Le Mans. It doesn't even look like they're in the same class. It's kind of ridiculous. This way, at least if the DRS was reversed, where you can only use it when you're not within a second, it allows the drivers to catch up to those in front of them. But then when they get within a second, they've got to do the rest of the work, use that slipstream to their advantage, and just send it up the inside. I think that's ultimately we'd rather see than just the standard, boring, down the straight, open the DRS, blow past your opponent. But yes, guys, those are my thoughts from the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Again, my main highlight was the drive from Oliver Bearman, the rookie that we did not even expect to be racing until Friday. So shouts out to him. He did a fantastic job. Well-deserved driver of the day. And obviously, congratulations again to Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, and Red Bull. Another flawless Grand Prix, cannot take that away from them. But hopefully in Australia, we get a better fight from the likes of potentially Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren. But we'll just have to see what happens. So guys, thanks as always for tuning in. Let me know what you thought of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Leave those comments down below. Hit subscribe and like. You already know what to do. And we'll see you next time on Racing Direct.